for especially the local media for their participation here now. And also yung Senate nandito. We have just returned, or rather we have just come from Ulo, where the Committee on Local Governments in the Senate first conducted the first hearing of the two hearings that we are doing today and tomorrow. We had a very productive hearing. We started at 10. We were able to leave at close to 3 o'clock, and I'm happy to say that we were able to give the opportunity to probably all of those who wanted to participate. I think it was very productive. I think that like in all of the hearings that I have attended and that I have chaired, we have learned much. There is no substitute. There's clearly no substitute for talking to locals when it comes to the issues that are prevalent in their minds. The subject of discussion, of course, was the draft BBL, and it is very illustrative to know how the approaches are to the question, how they differ from the national government, from the administration, from pundits in Manila, and finally for those stakeholders who are actually going to be or proposed to be part of the Bangsamoro territory and under the jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro government. So again, as I'm sure people are aware, the issues that were raised in the previous hearing had a great deal to do with the inclusivity of the peace process, i.e. the inclusion of the MNLF and even other armed groups in the peace process. Secondly, were the specific issues of the Sultanate of Sulu, which we cannot describe as parochial because they have national and even international implications. So it was, as I said, very informative, very productive. We learned a great deal. One of the proposals that was made at the very end of the hearing was one made by Vice Governor Sakultan, wherein he reminded the Committee on Local Government that the Committee on Local Government has not had a hearing, a consultation, a meeting with any of the local government officials. And that is why he proposed that we have at least one, and the suggestion was the governors of the five governors of ARM, the city mayors, capital mayors, and perhaps some of the surrounding local government units surrounding the proposed Bangsamoro core territory. So this is something that we are going to look into. I don't think it will take much to have another hearing, and maybe I will look at my schedule after we talk and tignan natin kung kayang gawin. So that is a very quick thumbnail sketch of what occurred today in Pulo. Inclusion of the MNLF in the peace process, the context in which we will handle the BBL in the context of the Tripoli Agreement and the Jakarta Agreement of '96, the issues of the Sultanate of Sulu, and further the issues of the Tausug, because this is something that is little understood, I believe, by those of some of us in Manila. So we are hoping that this will be inclusive into the final deliberations on the Senate version of the BBL. And finally, the point, as I said, that was made, that the local governments have not been consulted at any point in this process, and it is time that we consulted with him. How much weight will it have? These are 3 of the 5 provinces of ARM. So they constitute the majority of provinces in ARM. So definitely their views, their opinions are very important.
Okay, so the floor is now open for questions. Si Sir Well, right now.
These will be important, but many of them seem to want to go away with the BBL altogether.
I don't know if they want to go away with the BBL. What they want is to be removed as part of the Bangsamoro territory because they view the opinion that they expressed, that was expressed, is that this is a peace agreement with the MILF. And this is a peace agreement with the Maguindanao, not with the Maranao and the Tausug. And that's why they say we're not included. They should not be included because we did not have any part in this process.
Open pa kayo sa suggestions or opinions?
Yeah. Well, it is a valid point. If you clearly the comprehensive agreement was signed between the MILF and the government of the Philippines. It did not include the MNLF. But again, the MNLF is always asking what happens now to the peace agreement that we signed in 1996 in Jakarta. And that has never been properly answered because besides the nature of the comprehensive agreement on Bangsamoro is also the apparent, at least as they describe it, failure of the coordination and harmonization between the MILF and the MNLF position. So that these are the more intricate details that somehow are lost when we talk about the BBL in Manila. And that is why, as I said, there is no substitute to talking to the local stakeholders as to what their views are on these national issues. We've been hearing about timetables and deadlines, and as I have always said, I will, if we manage to finish within those deadlines and timetables, then fine. But if we do not, I am not. This is too important and too complex that we cannot prioritize the deadline over the correctness and propriety of what the version we will finally pass is. So, the main priority is to get it right. Maybe a far second is to come under the deadline. So that is the way that we are handling it. I believe that even in the House, despite the promises made by the leadership of the House, that they're going to have great difficulty finishing it before the end of this session, before we go into this session.
Yes, sir.
Sir, on the ground it's a little more complicated. And
A lot more complicated.
yeah, how are you going to sift through all these points of view, and how is this going to factor in the final form of at least a Senate version of the BBL?
Well, again, there is no way around sifting, as you call it, sifting through the detail. That is why we have always, I have always felt uncomfortable, and that there were deadlines being put to the process, because this is not something we should hurry. So we will go through all the details and see how important they in fact are in the overall scheme of things. We have to always continue to view the BBL, the Bangsamoro Basic Law, as merely part of the peace process. It is not the entire peace process. So, if what happens, what the upshot is, that the findings of the committee are that the BBL, we can finally make a version that we are happy with, there might come up other issues, such as development issues, such as issues on the economic structure, on the assistance of national government, which are essentially outside of the BBL. If they come up, then we will also discuss them.
So at this point, given that, do you think the June 11 deadline is still realistic or even?
I think it's a tough one. It's going to be tough to come under that deadline.
Ms. Julia Ripala of the Philippine Media.
Hello, good.
Matanong ko lang, sir, kung nagkaroon ba ng effort your office to reach out with, kasi you made mention about MNL application. Have you tried to reach out with Ms. Wari?
Yes, at the very beginning. We asked because it was immediately recognized that after the Zamboanga uprising, that the MNLF is a stakeholder in this. And they have, as I said, a very understandable concern as to what will happen to what was called the final peace agreement of 1996 signed in Jakarta. Ano ngayon ang mangyayari doon? Paano ngayon yung pinag-aglihan nila? Yung mga nakuha nila sa negosasyon? That is the question that the MNLF is asking us. That's why at the very start, I proposed that we invite Nandro Miswari. Maybe we could have provided some kind of immunity because he was already a fugitive at that time because of the uprising here. But sinabi na niya na kahit na we promise immunity, hindi siya po pwedeng mag-appear, but he will send a representative. So I have been in constant, consultation with members of the MNLF at different levels. So much so that now we are scheduling a hearing on the BBL, and we are inviting the MNLF to come and give their position on the BBL. Because we have received position papers, we have received, there's been some testimony in some of the hearings by members of the MNLF, but I think it is time that we give them the due attention, considering that they have two outstanding agreements, the Tripoli Agreement and the Jakarta Agreement, which we somehow which somehow the administration and OPAP seems to have forgotten about. And I think maybe we should remind them that the MNLF is an important part of the peace process, and that they, in fact, have signed with the government several agreements.
So is this the reason why you want to get it right? Kasi sabi nga ninyo, given the schedules, gusto nyo makuha na dapat tama yung
Because if we don't get it right, nothing will happen. If this does not succeed, then the peace agreement or not, BPL or not, there will not be peace in Mindanao. So that is why it is seen as I see it that we should try and do our best so that when the BPL is finally passed, that it will succeed, maging matagumpay itong ating ginagawa. At pag ibig sabihin ng matagumpay, successful, ibig sabihin ng kapayapaan. Pero kung hindi natin masyadong suriin at pag-aralan ng mabuti lahat ng detalye, hindi mangyayari.
So, ulitin ko lang, ano yung ibig sabihin ng when you want to get it right as your main priority?
That it will succeed. That the new government will be a good government, that it will succeed. That the stakeholders who feel that they have a stake are included, and therefore no longer go to war, no longer have uprisings in Zamboanga, no more bombings kung saan-saan. These are the things that we are worried about. Again, I will repeat myself. This is part of the peace process. BBL is not the entire peace process. That is why we have to look at it on a larger perspective and say, what is the part that BBL needs to play in the entire peace process? So we have to get that part right, but we also have to get other things right. We also have to talk, as I said, to other stakeholders, and we also have to take into account their concerns and their misgivings.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, yung pong pagsama sa MNLF sa consultations and yung mga other stakeholders like sultanates, assurance na po ba yun na makakasama sila sa final version po ng na ma-include na po sila? Talking about
No, well, we'll see. Maybe there have been proposals from some members of the MNLF that we include in the language that this be done in partnership the MILF and the MNLF in partnership. What that partnership will constitute, we have to ask them and see what they mean about that. Whether or not that the place for that kind of action is in the BBL or in some other way, then that remains to be seen. So, no, I mean, I approach it with an open mind and pakinggan natin sila kung anong kanilang iniisip at tingnan natin kung meron namang mga valid na kanilang na hinihingi, bakit hindi natin naibigay? Dahil nakikita naman natin na kung tumutulong lahat, kagaya na sabi ko, magiging matagumpay ito at peace process.
Para sa yung gusto ng Sulu-Sultanate na hindi na nga isama yung territory.
But you have to remember not within the Bangsamoro territory. Well, we'll take it as
Another autonomy.
I'm sorry? They also want, yeah, that's right. They propose another, because the MNLF, actually their position is bumalik sa Tripoli Agreement. Now that's no longer possible, but you can see what they're getting at, that they have, their representation needs to be felt. Perhaps that representation can take form in a involvement in the Bangsamoro government as we are trying to establish.
They can run.
Sorry?
They can run as a party.
Yes, but we have to, the system is inclined towards MILF rather than MNLF. And so we can even playing field.
Transition period, sir.
Especially, well, the transition period is key. Kasi sila lang. And you have 1 year to campaign, you probably win that election.
And you have the resources.
And you have the resources.
Sir, just on that point, do you agree that the MNLF has not been considered in terms of previous agreements?
Yes.
Because
They have been totally ignored in this process. During the meetings that resulted in the comprehensive agreement, the MNLF was never represented.
But if you ask OPAP, there were 42 consensus points. These are carryovers. These are what the MNLF says are agreements that have not been implemented or pursued. No? Sabi ng OPAP, yung 42 consensus points is in the BBL. And sabi ni Yusek Lorena, as you can point line by line where those 42 consensus points are in the BBL. So,
I think the concern or the hesitation that the MNLF has is the way that this is being set up, how the Bangsamoro government is being set up. Because as you said, it would seem that the MILF will have a clear advantage when it comes time for elections and for the political parties to take their place in the Bangsamoro government. Ganun ang kanilang pakiramdam. If we look at the way that the parliament, the Bangsamoro parliament is being formed, you can see it does favor the MILF member.
Sir, may ganito yung Sultanate of Sulu, sir, yung gusto nila ng autonomous.
Gusto nila na sarili nilang autonomous region.
Paano sir, hindi sila makakasama sa Bangsamoro region that will be created under the
Yun ang gusto nila. Ang sabi nila, first, they ask that the Sulu archipelago not be included in the Bangsamoro core territory. That's their first request. The second request is that after that a separate autonomous region be set up. This goes back again to the character of the inhabitants of Sulu archipelago, which are Tausug, and the inhabitants of the mainland, which are Maguindanao and Maranao. So I think that's where the difference is. And you heard today na maraming tumayo and said that Tausug should be dominant or should lead this be in the lead in government.
But are you taking that into consideration, sir?
I'm sorry?
Are you taking that into consideration? Puro na sila autonomous regions.
Well, ayoko naman silang sagutin kaagad, but the fact is they have an opportunity to make a choice in the plebiscite. So they always have that option. So kung talagang ayaw na nila, because just to go back a little bit in time, matagal yung Sulu Archipelago governors, matagal nung gusto humiwalay sa ARM. Matagal na silang nagsasabi, sana pangkaraniwan na lang kaming LGU. And so this is, I think, an extension of that same sentiment.
Sir, the MLF published a report saying that, I'll read parts of it. You should atone for the glorious sins of your fathers in this country, including the massacres of thousands of Moors in Mindanao. What is your reaction?
I'm surprised. I was surprised. You know, when we were going through the hearings mga Sapano, I was constantly asking the MILF to show good faith and make confidence-building actions. But they seem not to want to do that. Instead of trying to calm the waters, they are more and more provocative. So it's just me. You know, I'm in politics. Yung mga ganyan salita, wala bounces off me. That's like duck off of that. That's a water off a duck's back to me. So I don't take those things personally, and I will not answer it in that personal and political basis. But if they really want the bill to pass, why they should be more conciliatory in the way they speak. So that the one people will, never mind me, never mind legislators. It is the general public. The general public sees them as being completely unreasonable in terms of softening or changing their position. So that is just some expressions of how do you say, good faith, or that they're trying, then perhaps it will be that way we can slowly regain the support of the public. This cannot succeed without the support of the public. Ang ending nito lahat, pagka hindi binoto ng taong bayan ito, kasi palapit na rin tayo sa 2016 election. Ano pwedeng sabihin ng mga grupo? Ano, ikaw, congressman, anong naging position mo sa BBL? Ayaw namin yan. Kung bumoto kayo, hindi ka namin iboboto. Nandun na tayo eh. So you have to bring everybody in. You know, it is a political question. Politics is a game of addition and subtraction. Huwag ka makipag-away. Kaibiganin mo ang mga tao, katapitin mo sa'yo. That's the process. And that has been always my advice to the MILF. I even mentioned this to Chairman Datugan Abbas. But we know him as Bal. Anyway, sinabi ko sa kanya, sabihin mo yung pangalan mo, ano kung mawawala sa'yo. Maliit na bagay. It's not important to me, but it's important to people. But hindi pa rin magawa. Yung pagbalik ng armas, hindi magawa. Tapos yung paghuli Guzman, hindi maliwanag na silang gumawa. They claim that they were the ones who did it. And then yung mga salitang ganyan, walang hindi nakakatulong. It's not helpful. Again, forget me and what my when this is all of that. But why is that necessary? It's not necessary. Kung mapikon ako, kung anong gawin ko, hindi lang hindi ako pikon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, followed by Sir David Santos. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, sorry. Kasi maybe I don't know how to put this in a more polite way. The risk of perhaps siguro offending you, sir. Kasi kaya explain nyo nga lang. But this is a totally different context, sir. I was talking to some residents kanina, mga elders naman sila. And I was asking them what were their expectations for that particular public consultation. I really wanted to listen to you. Because the last time they heard about the Marcos was supposedly during their time nalilink po yung father niyo po, sir, sa supposed alleged abuses in their communities. So now this time, they wanted to listen to you on how you can help their communities now be better, develop, and be peaceful. Siguro your thoughts lang siguro, sir. I mean, siguro just to address it lang.
I'm glad that they are open-minded and want to listen to me, but we are not here to talk about history. We are here to talk about the BBL.
Right.
And I am not, it is for me, kaya tawag hearing, para pakikinggan ko nga ang mga resource persons. tungkol sa kanilang mga iniisip and how this approach it. So all of these other really unrelated issues remain unrelated. I am focused on the peace process. Not so closely focused, BBL lang. I am focused on the peace process. And that is what's important to me. And I think that what motivates me and what the general guiding principle that I have is what can we do to help the peace process along. And if we do a very good job, finally bring it to fruition and bring peace to Muslim Mindanao.
We have time for 2 more questions. Ma'am, mauna muna si Ma'am Gonzales.
During consultation kanina and hearings, nabanggit din yung parang minumove nila for 2016, any reaction or plan for the final plan for 2016. Helpful po ba yung kanilang
Iba na usapan yan. That's really not related to this.
other topic?
I'm sorry?
Other topics na. Makakatulong ba yung kanilang endorsement kanina for your decision for 2016?
Sa BBM?
Yung mga nag-endorse kanina, di ba? Aside from
Makakatulong saan?
sa inyong decision for
My decision to
2016 plan.
Of course, every expression of an opinion as to whether or not I should run, I take into account. And of course, it's nice to hear people who are supportive, di ba? The same way that it's not so nice to hear people who are not supportive. But you know, that's what you do. You weigh the relative merits of everything that you hear. Hopefully, you're wise enough to know what is important and what is not. But again, I mean, I always, ang reaction ko naman lagi dyan, siyempre napapasalamat ako sa kanila. You know, it's not for a politician. It is that's the gold standard. Is these expressions and manifestations of political support. So of course I'm grateful for their support, and I will again take it into account when the time comes and a decision has to be made as to what to do for the 2016 election. Okay.
Okay, so having no more questions.
We're done. Okay.
Closing.
Maraming salamat. Sige. Thank you very much.